Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers. We are your hosts, Bang and Dang, aka the Mouthy Michiganders. This is Bang, that's Dang, and we are in.
That's Dang. What are we on TV?
We are. Well, now they know. We are in the middle. Well, towards the back end now, coming into the back end of a very, very epic Wild
Third
Earp.
quarter. We're in the third quarter of fucking
Wyatt Earp. Yes.
Wyatt Earp's existence on this earth.
16th. This one's all about the Earp Vendetta Ride, and if you joined us the last two episodes, you already know that.
This is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, you already know that he did some shit in his early life and got in trouble with the law a couple times.
I fought the law when the law won.
Became a lawman.
Did he though?
Traveled to Tombstone and.
But did he ever really be? Did he just become a lawman because he had the badge, or did he actually become a lawman?
How else do you become a lawman?
Right, he became a lawman because he got a badge, but did he actually become a lawman?
How else do you become a lawman?
You don't know what I'm saying? Did he actually became a lawman, like himself as a lawman, a good, honest citizen, an honorable citizen? What was that movie called with Jamie Foxx when he was just a fucking, I think he was a car driver or something.
Cab driver?
Yeah, what was it called? Natural citizen or some shit?
No, wasn't that
Great citizen or some shit?
Wasn't when Tom Cruise or somebody was like the assassin and he
Somebody
had to drive around for the whole time?
It was called fucking Law-Abiding Citizen. That's what it was.
No,
That's
Law-Abiding Citizen was with Gerard Butler, and he's that prisoner.
No, Law-Abiding Citizen is
Law-Abiding Citizen is Gerard Butler, that prisoner, the dude he fucking goes to jail because people killed his family or whatever, and then he got the guy, tortured him, and
Jamie Foxx was the driver.
No.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Collateral.
Oh, maybe.
Where fucking Jamie Foxx, this guy forces him to drive him around to like hits all fucking night long.
Right. What's Law-Abiding Citizen?
I just told you what it was.
No, I want to see
with
it.
Gerard Butler, where he fucking is getting revenge.
Yeah, so I told you, Jamie Foxx is fucking in
He's the fucking detective or
He's
agent
not
or
the
whatever.
detective. He's the fucking guy that he's a delivery driver or some shit.
No.
Yeah, watch. Look.
Oh my gosh, dude. But a rising prosecutor named Nick Rice, who was Jamie Foxx, yes, he fucking chops up some dude on camera, like chops him up, tortures him, and does all this shit. They send him to prison. He escapes from prison, and he's just like on a fucking rampage.
What was the one where
when his wife and daughter are murdered?
Where Jamie Lee Foxx was like the car driver?
Jamie Lee Foxx?
Jamie the Fox was the car driver. What was it?
Collateral.
I think that's it. Yeah,
Obviously.
I think that's it. But Law-Abiding Citizen's fucking good.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Glad we established that.
Just glad we established that. Yes, but Wyatt was at times not a law-abiding citizen. So
wait, is Jamie Foxx in Collateral? You didn't look at that.
We did.
I didn't see.
Yes, he was a cab driver. Don't care.
I didn't see that. I want to see.
Okay, you see.
I didn't. I wanted to look for that. Collateral.
But yes, fucking.
How do you spell Collateral?
Dang over here. Oh man.
I bet I don't know how to spell it.
It's right here, man.
Yeah,
you see Jamie Foxx right in the fucking driver's seat.
Yeah,
I don't know how the fuck we got off on this fucking tangent over here, but Wyatt Earp, not a good guy in his early life. And then obviously leading up to episode 2, which was the shootout at the OK Corral, and the aftermath. Virgil gets, 3 of the fucking Clanton people get killed, gunned down.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, Ike Clanton vows his revenge, and Virgil gets ambushed and maimed in the streets. And then 3 months later, poor Morgan Earp gets a shot through the back while playing billiards.
Shot to the back.
And
while playing pool.
That sets up the Earp Vendetta Ride. That's
now, damn it, Morgan, you gave the pool table a blood stain. Oh, sorry. Wyatt was on the run.
He wasn't on the run. Yeah, he wasn't on the run.
Was on the hunt. He's looking for a Clanton. He's gonna whoop the rest day. Today.
But Doc's got a hold on.
Doc?
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, Doc's with him.
Oh, Doc is with him.
Jeez.
And Doc's got tuberculosis.
He's got a hold on from his TB. He's got a lot of men to kill if it kills him.
Oh.
Ooh. Okay, guys. obviously that's leading up to the Earp Vendetta Ride, and thus where we start off today on this episode. Well, obviously, like we said, Morgan Earp just got killed, so while Wyatt and James Earp.
Wyatt. Wyatt. Oh, it's Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp.
No, it's Wyatt Earp.
That's Wyatt.
Wyatt Earp.
I don't even know.
And while Wyatt and James Earp were traveling to contention with Morgan's body, coroner Dr. D.M. Matthew held an inquest into Morgan's death.
Ooh.
During the coroner's inquest, Pete Spence's wife, Marietta Duarte, implicated implicated her husband and 4 men in Morgan's murder. She testified that along with her husband, Frank Stillwell, a man named Fries, who was later identified as Frederick Bode, and 2 Indians later identified as Hank Swillen and Florentino Cruz.
They don't sound like Indians to me. Hank Swilling? That's a fucking Indian.
Well, I mean, it's a
What's
white
your
man
name? Hank Swilling.
They also took part in the killing. She testified that 4 days before the shooting, she and her mother were standing at Spence's house when Morgan walked by. The Indian then started down the street and got ahead of him to get a good look at him. She also stated that on the night of the shooting, she and her mother heard the shots, and a few minutes later, Stillwell and Indian Charlie, quote unquote, came into her home, followed shortly by Spence, Bode, and the other Indian.
Holy shit.
Oh, okay.
So some foul plays going on there.
Right.
Marietta Duarte recalled that the men were excited, and the next morning her husband threatened her with violence if she told what she knew. He was like, shut your face. Spence didn't tell me so, but I know he killed Morgan Earp.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Wait, I thought, oh no, Ike was the one that shot Virgil.
Right.
An unknown man shot Morgan. That's right.
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 So she basically said, Spence didn't tell me, but I
did
know it.
I know it in my heart.
Additional witnesses said they saw Frank Stillwell running from the scene. Like the gunfight 3 months earlier, Morgan's murder was national news.
Of course it was.
The L.A. Herald reported, Tombstone, A.T., what does that mean?
Arizona territory.
Yeah, American territory? Or Arizona?
Arizona territory.
It said, Tombstone, Arizona territory, March 23rd.
Now remember, you're reading a quote from a newspaper, so
don't
go off script here, man.
The coroner's jury find that Morgan Earp came to his death at the hands of Frank Stillwell.
Frank Stillwell? I thought it was Spence.
Right. Who was killed next day in Tucson.
Wait.
Pete Spence.
So Frank
was killed the next day.
Frank was killed the next day in Tucson. We didn't have that.
Yeah, why is that not in there?
Maybe it wasn't the Earps.
Oh. Well, Pete Spence. One Fries,
yeah.
That's Fries. Pete Spence, 1 Fries.
So that's how they spelled it. Instead of F-R-I-E-S, they spelled it F-R-E-I-S.
Yeah, the Fries guy. And 2 half-breed Indians.
Half-breed. That's what Hank comes from, huh?
Right, so now they say they're half-breed.
Right.
That's a fucking article. Pete Spence's wife exposes the plot, it says. A sheriff's posse consisting of 20 men, mostly cowboys. That's how it says it, guys. I don't know why. Left this morning for Dragoon Mountains, the article says. So it's the morning of March 23rd. Where the Earps are supposed to be at the present. So they think the Earps are over here in the Dragoon Mountains. I don't think they would be there. They would be on the move, right? I don't think they're just going to sit in one spot. Well, anyway. The sheriff made a weak attempt to arrest them at the Cosmopolitan Hotel before they left.
Right.
But Wyatt Earp was like, I don't want to see that guy.
Okay. That makes sense.
That he had seen him once too often.
The sheriff tried to arrest him, and Wyatt was like, I don't want to fucking know.
Right, so they left town.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, I've seen him once too often. And thereupon the Earp party mounted their horses, and they rode away. There was a very uneasy feeling among the cowboy element, as the Earps are rendered desperate by the attempted assassination of Virgil Earp and the cold-blooded murder of their brother, Morgan Earp.
Well, that coroner's jury concluded that Spence, Stillwell, Fries, and 2 half-breed Indians, quote-unquote, were responsible for Morgan's murder. Say that 5 times fast. Morgan's murder.
That's a lot of Morgans. I hate people named Morgan.
Morgan's murder. Morgan's murder.
They killed 4 Morgans.
They killed
anybody named Morgan, you got to fucking hide those bitches.
Gunning them down.
Yep.
Well, unbeknownst to Wyatt, 3 of the cowboys he sought were in Behan's jail that very night. After the coroner's jury ended, Spence immediately turned himself in,
Ooh.
which he's protected in Bayhan's jail,
Right.
obviously. On the day of the inquest, 2 of Bayhan's deputy sheriffs arrested 2 more suspects for other reasons. Cochise County's Deputy Sheriff William Bell brought Indian Charlie from Charleston and placed him under arrest in the Tombstone jail for shooting a man in Charleston.
Oh, shit.
Separately, Cochise County Deputy Sheriff Frank Hereford arrested John Doe Freeze.
Ain't that some
they
shit?
were all later released.
Ain't that some shit? Is that a quinky dink?
What?
All 3 guys. It's all 3 of our guys.
They were all released, though.
Yeah, it's in different situations. It's all 3 of the guys from earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Fries, fucking, what's his face, and fucking other dude was already there.
Yeah.
Ain't that cool? All different fucking charges and shit. That's a good movie scene right there.
Well, no. Spence, Stillwell, Fries, and the Indians didn't get arrested.
Right. But they all got brought in sooner or later.
Bayhan's jail, there was 3 that were there. It was Indian Charlie, John Doe, and another guy, and Spence, because he turned himself in. Those were the 3 in jail. So Spence turned himself in, but Stillwell, Fries, and the 2 half-breeds didn't get arrested.
Right, but the other 2 did.
The other 3
did, yeah. Off different charges, though. Mm-hmm. And that's some shit.
Well, except for Spence, he turned himself in.
Right, he turned himself in.
Right, so...
That's fantastic.
Well, we already know what fucking kind of man Behan is and how he hates the Earp. So.
Right. Well, Wyatt Earp learned of the judge's ruling. He felt he could not rely on the court system for justice. He said, fuck this shit. It ain't going to happen the way we want it to happen, boys. And we're not letting old Morgan and Virgil. Virgil's dead too, right?
No.
Nope, there's Morgan. And soon to be Virgil.
No. Virgil lives a long and happy life.
And years to be Virgil. Stillwell had previously been acquitted of 2 homicides and a staged robbery.
Of course he was.
And
stage robbery, not staged.
And in Wyatt Earp's opinion, he and other cowboys had gotten away with Moida once again.
Of course they did.
Wyatt decided to take matters in his own hands.
Yes, he did.
Concluding that the only way to deal with Virgil and Morgan's attackers and continued threat against their entire Earp family was to Moida these responsible cowboys.
If anybody has any information regarding this case, you can call 1-800-MOST WANTED.
That is 1-800-MOST WANTED. The Earp family massacre. Right.
On Sunday, March 19th, the day after Morgan's murder. So this is March 23rd is when that article was written.
Right.
So this is all before that article now.
Right. On the 19th, guys.
Right,
so
the 19th of March, the day after Morgan's murder, Deputy U.S. Marshal Wyatt Earp, his brother James, and a group of friends prepared to accompany Virgil and his wife, along with Morgan's body, to the railhead in Benson.
Right.
If you recall in the movie, some people were hunting down I'm sure they'll say. From there, James would accompany them to the family home in Colton, California. Morgan's wife and parents waited to bury him. On Monday, Wyatt received information that Frank Stillwell, Ike Clanton, Hank Swinlin, and another cowboy were watching the passenger trains in Tucson, intending to kill Virgil.
Oh, jeez.
He thought getting the still invalid Virgil through to Tucson safely would require extra help.
Yeah, he knew he needed more help.
Right.
What did he need to do? Well, Earp, accompanied by Warren Earp, Doc Holliday, Turkey Creek Jack Johnson, and Sherman McMaster.
Okay, McMaster.
Guarded Virgil and Allie all the way to where they needed to go. In Contention City, they stabled their horses and picked up an extra wagon. They rode in the wagon to the railhead in Benson, where they caught the next train to Tucson. They were all heavily armed with shotguns or rifles, except for Virgil, who had his pistol.
Right. I don't think he could handle a two-handed gun.
Well, Nathan W. Waite of Ash Canyon in the Huachua Mountains was on the train with the Earp party.
Huachuca?
He said the Earp men were all armed and had McMaster's bottle, passing around fucking Canadian whiskey.
Right.
You know, fucked up. And McMaster was wearing 2 cartridge belts.
Damn, ready.
Oh, shit.
Well, in Tucson, the party was greeted at the train station by Deputy U.S. Marshal Joseph W. Evans.
Yeah.
Virgil and other witnesses later reported that they saw Stillwell, Ike Clanton, and other cowboys at the train station.
Oh, shit, just waiting.
Almost the first men we met on the platform there were Stillwell and his friends, armed to the teeth, Virgil later told the San Francisco Examiner. They fell back into the crowd as soon as they saw that I had an escort, and the boys took me to the hotel to have supper. Watched over by the well-armed Wyatt and his posse, Virgil and Allie had dinner in Tucson at Porter's Hotel. Marshal Evans saw Holliday deposit 2 shotguns at the railroad station office.
All right.
Then we get a nice little picture of Tombstone in 1880.
Yep, badass.
Look at that.
Yep.
Nice little town.
That was a good little fucking picture, too. After the Earp group finished dinner at the Porter's Hotel, they returned to the train. Holliday asked someone to get his shotguns. Wyatt escorted Virgil and Allie aboard the train. A passenger told Virgil he saw a man lying on a flat car near the engine. Wyatt saw them, too, and he slipped between the tracks, looking for those men. As the train pulled away from Tucson Station at about 7:15 p.m., 6 or 7 shots were heard. Witnesses gave different accounts, but Frank Stillwell's body was found on the morning of the 21st of March, about 100 yards, 91 meters, from the Porter Hotel alongside the tracks.
So now we know why the sheriff's posse were looking for the Earps in the Dragoon Mountains.
Right. And they found him riddled with 2 buckshot wounds and 3 gunshot wounds.
Damn.
George Hand, who saw the body, said Stillwell was the worst shot-up man I've ever saw.
Damn.
2 buckshot wounds.
Fucked him up. Well, after Stillwell, or after George Hand says Stillwell's the worst shot-up man I ever saw, coroner Dr. Dexter Lyford found a single bullet wound through Stillwell's body under his armpits.
Uh-oh.
A wound from a rifle through the upper left arm.
Uh-oh.
A buckshot wound that passed through the liver, abdomen, and stomach.
Oh, no.
Another buckshot wound that fractured his left leg.
Right.
And a rifle wound through the right leg. So that tells me there was more than one shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Unless Wyatt Earp's so fucking talented he
Has all
can
those
handle
guns.
3 guns at one time. The coroner concluded that Stillwell had been shot by 5 different weapons.
Holy shit.
Either the gun shot under his arm or through the abdomen could have been the cause of death.
I think, yeah. That
Right
one.
under the arm. It fucked him up, went in. Holy shit. Yeah, so they fucking came through and just started fucking him up, dude.
Well, the Tombstone epitaph reported the next day that Stillwell had been shot 6 times. They reported that the round of buckshot in the torso had struck him at such close range that 6 buckshot left holes within a radius of 3 inches. So that's fucking close. Wow. Leaving powder burns on his coat. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Many years later, White told his biographer, Flood, that he and his party had seen Clanton and Stillwell on the tracks with weapons, and that he had shot Stillwell. I shot him. Shot him dead. The federal deputies looked hard for another man, whom White identified as Ike Clanton. But he got away. Ike Clanton got away once again. This motherfucker seems to be getting away a lot.
I know. So Wyatt told his biographer that he was the only one that shot him.
Right.
Dude, unless he shot him with one weapon, took out another weapon, shot him, took out another weapon, shot him. But
Right.
they said witnesses heard
Multiple.
6 shots right in a row. There's no way he just
Right.
changed weapons like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And they were pretty
Obviously,
decent-sized weapons.
he's protecting
Right.
whoever else was fucking involved.
And that's a lot of weapons to carry for one man, too.
Right.
That's pretty heavy.
Well, Ike claimed in a newspaper interview afterward that he and Stillwell had been in Tucson to respond to a federal subpoena for interfering with a U.S. mail carrier when he allegedly robbed the Sandy Bob line of the Bisbee stage on September 8, 1881. The federal charges had been filed by Virgil after Stillwell was acquitted for lack of evidence on the state charges of robbery.
Okay.
Clanton said he had heard about the Earps being on the train, and Clanton said he had heard about the Earps.
What the hell's going on here?
Clanton said he had heard that the Earps were coming in on a train to kill Stillwell.
Uh-oh.
According to Clanton, Stillwell left the hotel and was last seen walking down the railroad tracks away from the Porter Hotel towards where his body was later found on the tracks. Yeah,
Okay.
likely story, Ike.
Right.
Likely story.
Right. Well, later on, Virgil said to the Examiner.
Virgil and Wyatt sure did do a lot of fucking interviews after
Yeah.
they got done, didn't they?
I think they liked it. Later on, Virgil told the Examiner, one thing is for certain, if I had been without an escort, they would have murdered me on the spot.
Of course.
The next day, the newspapers were all full of news about Frank Stillwell's death. The Arizona Star reported, without any provocation, a band of 4 or 5 slayers pursued a lonely man in the dark. Without any word of warning, murdered him in cold blood, and then hid to their stamping grounds as unconcerned as they had when out on a hunting expedition. Or like so many bloodthirsty Apaches, rejoicing over their crime.
That's racist. That's racist.
The coroner's jury in Tucson found that Stillwell had died at the hands of Wyatt and Warren Earp, Doc Holliday, McMaster, and Johnson.
That makes fucking sense. There was 5 different weapons, they said, right?
Right. Tucson Justice of the Peace Charles Meyer issued arrest warrants for the 5 men.
And now you know why they were looking for him.
Right. Here's a
Kind
nice
of
little picture
Tombstone
of
in
Tombstone.
1881.
1881.
It's a good little picture, man. Whoever owns that's rich. That big old place.
It could be a livery.
Well, on the night of March 20th, well, they're still rich. On the night of March 20th, after killing Stillwell in Tucson and verifying that the train was on its way to California with the rest of their family, the Earp party was afoot. They walked 9 miles southeast back along the Southern Pacific tracks out of Tucson to the Papago freight shop.
Right.
At the Papago stop, they flagged down the night freight train back to the terminal in Benson. Once in Benson, they hired a wagon back to Contention where they picked up their stabled horses. They rode into Tombstone around 11 a.m. on Tuesday, March 21st. Once in Tombstone, they learned of Marietta Doherty's testimony during the coroner's inquest into Morgan's death. She told the jury that her husband, Pete Spence, she identified had killed fucking Morgan. So now he knows that Spence is the guy.
Right.
Okay. Well, okay, so now Wyatt's like, ugh.
Right. Well, at this time, the Earps returned to their rooms upstairs at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, where they had lived in close company and used their temporary headquarters since the first attack on Virgil in December. Wyatt and Wyatt Earp, J.H. Holliday. Who's J.H. Holliday? Is that Doc Holliday?
Yes.
Why would I say J.H.?
I don't know.
Come on, guys. Wyatt, Warren Earp, Doc Holliday, Texas Jack, Turk Creek Johnson, and Sherman McMaster were now wanted men due to the outstanding warrants that were on their heads. They had bounties on them. Tucson, where the Earps had killed Stillwell, was in the jurisdiction of Pima County Sheriff Bob Paul, a friend of the Earps.
A friend of the Earps.
So that makes sense.
There we go.
He and District Attorney Alex Campbell sent a telegram to Behan and Tombstone asking him to arrest the
Oh,
Earps.
shit, some friend.
Asking, really, hey.
Well, you know Behan's going to do it.
Right. The telegraph office manager was a friend of the Earps as well, and showed the message to Wyatt before he delivered to the sheriff. The operator agreed to delay delivering the message to Behan long enough to allow the Earps and their associates to make ready to leave down Tuesday evening. So just, when we get ready to go, then you can give it to them. The Earps sent instructions to Montgomery's stable to get their horses saddled.
Look at the Earps making friends.
Saying, gas up, check my tire pressures, and gas me up.
Right, check my
Check
horseshoes and fucking... Look at this guy, John Texas Jack Vermillion.
Nice little sword, nice little pistol.
A little young fella.
Yeah.
Well, early in the evening, Behan received a delayed telegram. He gathered his deputies and Tombstone City Marshal Dave Neagle.
Well, Neagle.
They met in front of the Cosmopolitan Hotel preparing to arrest the 5 men. Behan encountered the heavily armed Earp lawmen as they passed through the lobby of the Cosmopolitan Hotel, getting ready to pick up their horses from the stable and leave town.
You ain't kidding.
Cochise County Sheriff Behan told the Deputy U.S. Marshal, "Wyatt, I want to see you." Wyatt replied without stopping,
Yeah.
"Johnny, if you're not careful, you'll see me once too often."
Right. You'll see me once too often.
And I totally channeled Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Anytime I see a Wyatt quote, it's Kurt Russell immediately. Immediately.
He is Wyatt Earp.
Of course.
Just like fucking Val Kilmer's fucking Doc.
All day. Just like Bill Paxton is fucking
Bill
Morgan.
Paxton's Morgan, and
Just like,
Sammy Elliott is fucking Virgil.
Right.
There's nobody else. Sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin Costner.
Just like Powers Booth is
Sorry, Kevin Costner, and who played
wasn't Paxton in that?
Doc Holliday?
Wasn't Paxton Doc Holliday?
Was Bill Paxton
I think he was Doc Holliday and
Wyatt Earp?
Wyatt Earp.
No way. Who played everybody?
Dennis Quaid is
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid is fucking Doc.
Tombstone Epitaph reported the sheriff made a weak attempt to arrest them at the Cosmopolitan Hotel before they left, but Wyatt Earp told him he didn't want to see him. That he had seen him once too often, and see, they'd misquoted him. And thereupon the Earp party mounted their horses, and they rode away. Quote, end quote. One of Behan's deputies, Billy Breckenridge, claimed...
My name's Billy Breckenridge.
Right. They claimed that Wyatt and his men resisted arrest and even pulled their guns on Behan and Dave Neagle.
Oh, get out of here. Fake news.
One of Wyatt's friends to prevent their arrest. So he's claiming that they pulled the guns on him.
Right.
Like, fuck you. In a story published on the 14th of May, 1893, Wyatt Earp told a reporter from the Denver Republican, "The sheriff called on me to surrender, and I told him I would not. He assembled a posse about the door of my room to take me in, but I walked through the men, and none of them offered to lay a hand upon me."
Well, good for you, Wyatt, little badass. Little badass.
Badass.
Well, Wyatt and Warren and Doc Holliday, Johnson, and McMaster were joined by Texas Jack Vermillion, Dan Tipton, Charlie Smith, Fred Dodge, Johnny Green, and Lewis Cooley
Nice.
to form a federal posse under Wyatt's authority as the Deputy U.S. Marshal.
Right.
Continuing to ignore Behan, the Earp posse rode out of town the same evening of Tuesday, March 21st. The next morning, Behan formed a posse consistent. He waited till the next morning. He was like, guys, let's give them about a fucking 12-hour head start.
Because they're going to murder us.
Right. He formed a posse consisting of a number of deputized cowboys, of course, friends of Frank Stillwell and Ike Clanton, including Johnny Ringo, Phineas Clanton, Johnny Barnes, and about 18 more men.
Right.
They rode after the federal posse and the five men wanted for Stillwell's murder.
Oh shit!
And we take a look at the old Dragoon Mountains from the south.
I can see that.
It don't even look like a mountain. It's just like something you don't want to come upon.
No, not at all. It was March 22nd, the morning of. A portion of the Earp posse, including Wyatt, Warren, Doc Holliday, Sherman McMaster, and Turkey Creek Johnson, rode about 10 miles, which is 16 kilometers east, 2 kilometers east to Pete Spence's ranch and woodcutting camp off the Chiricahua? Yeah, Chiricahua Road, before the south pass of the Dragoon Mountains. According to Theodore Judah, who witnessed the events at the wood camp, the Earp posse arrived at about 11 a.m., he said, and asked them about the location of Pete Spence and Florentino Indian Charlie Cruz. He told them Spence was in jail in Tombstone and that Cruz was cutting wood nearby. Oh,
shit. They
followed the directions Judah indicated, and Judah soon heard 10 or 12 shots fired. Judah looked for Cruz that night without success. The motherfucker disappeared. He got napped.
They napped that
motherfucker. The next morning, he went looking for him once again. Found his body full of bullet holes.
Of course he did. One apocryphal account says that after the party recognized Cruz, they chased him down and a gunfight ensued.
Mm-hmm.
The party managed to capture a fatally wounded Cruz, and he confessed to have taken part in Morgan's murder, and that he identified Stillwell, Hank Swinlin, and Curly Bill, old Powers Booth, and Johnny Ringo as the others who killed Morgan. The others, there was only one shot fired. Maybe like the masterminds or something.
Right.
During that time, in Wyatt's own account, he allowed Cruz to keep his revolver in his holster to give him a chance to fight like a man.
Right.
After Cruz's confession, Wyatt gave him the permission to draw his revolver, which Cruz did, but Wyatt managed to draw his gun first. Of course, this guy's like mortally wounded already, and killed him with one shot. Wyatt's account of him killing Cruz in a duel is contradicted by Cruz's fatal wounds, one to the temple, and the second through his right side.
Yeah, so...
maybe the one to the right side was the duel. And then fucking he was already down, and he probably was like, kill me, motherfucker. Just fucking kill me. Put a fucking bullet in his head.
Well, Thursday, 23rd of March, Smith and Tipton left the main body of the posse to obtain information and money in Tombstone. The rest of the posse rode west about 12 miles. And
Smith and Tipton weren't wanted.
Right, they're good.
So that's a good.
Right.
But why go back to Tombstone?
They needed information and money.
I guess, but...
And on the night of 23rd of March, they stayed in a campsite northwest of Tombstone between Contention and Drew Station.
So these motherfuckers are close to fucking Tombstone, and they still can't even get tracked down.
Behan saw Smith and Tipton in town and arrested them for resisting arrest and conspiracy.
Smith and Tipton's not part of the fucking warrant.
Well, the men immediately paid for their bond. Smith left Tombstone to rejoin the federal posse, but Tipton remained behind. When Smith rejoined the group, Earp asked him to return to town and raise $1,000 to cover the posse's expense. Earp later said he told Smith, meet us at Iron Springs and don't lose any time. We'll be waiting there.
He shows up. He's like, man, you never believe what fucking happened to me, Wyatt. We got fucking arrested. The other guy, he's still there, and he's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, why don't you go back to Tombstone, raise the fucking $1,000.
Figure out some way to put a Fund My Go out there and get $1,000, buddy. Right. Your neck hurts.
On March 27th, Smith and Tipton were brought before Judge A.J. Felter in Tombstone. The defense asked the judge to dismiss the charges because Behan lacked a warrant, and the judge agreed, freeing the men, what I just said. The Arizona Weekly Star had previously identified Florentino Saez as the 1878 murderer of Deputy U.S. Marshals Cornelius Finley and John Hicks Adams on September 2nd, 1878, and Cruz and Saez may have been the same person, obviously.
Right.
Well, on Friday, March 24th in Tombstone, Dr. George Goodfellow, acting as the coroner, examined Cruz's body. At the coroner's inquest, Goodfellow testified that he found 4 wounds in Cruz. So he had 4 wounds, not 2. One shot through his right temple, entering the brain. A slight flesh wound to the right shoulder.
Okay.
A third entering his right side and exiting to the right of his spine. and the fourth hit him in the left eye and exiting 7 or 8 inches above the point of entry. Damn, so I went in and up.
All right.
Yeah, fucked up. He stated that either the first or third wound were sufficient to cause death. So, obviously,
All right.
the one to the brain probably would have, so I'm
Right.
guessing that would have been the kill shot. The third wound would have been the one on his right side.
In the spine. Yeah, he's fucking done either way.
Yeah, maybe the shot to the head was afterwards. That's some brutal shit, but I could see it.
All right. Well, the coroner's jury ruled that Cruz has been killed by Wyatt and
Three
Warren.
times.
By Wyatt, Warren, Sherman McMaster, Jack Johnson, and Doc Holliday, and Texas Jack, and 2 other unnamed gunmen, which were Dan
How do
Tipton
7
and
people?
Charlie Smith.
How do 7 people fire 4 shots?
So they say that all these guys killed this guy.
7 people fired 4 shots.
Right. On the day of the inquest, Arizona Territory Governor Triddle arrived in Tombstone to look into the sad state of affairs.
Oh,
here.
dude, you know Tombstone was like the talk of fucking
Right.
the state. They're like, what
Right.
the fuck are we going to do with these assholes over here in
Sad
Tombstone?
state of affairs.
We're trying to
here.
get inducted into the fucking union, and these
Right.
fucking guys are over here killing
These
each other
guys,
and
right.
shit.
Well, on this very same day, the 2 remaining members of the Earp family departed Tombstone. The Tombstone
So there's
epitaph.
still Earps in Tombstone.
Right. Well, the ones that never did anything. There was a couple of them. Forget the names. The Tombstone epitaph reported that both James Earp, there you go,
Right.
James Earp's wife Bessie and Wyatt's
Bessie?
common-law wife Maddie were departing for Colton. So there was only 2 that's left, the wives.
So they left their wives there, knowing that they've been getting targeted and gunned
Right.
down in fucking Tombstone this whole time, and they leave their wives.
Both those motherfuckers, they left. They went to Colton, California, where the rest of the Earp family had
Oh, jeez.
been. Left the 2 wives there and be like, hey,
Right.
we're all going to California, and you
That's
guys...
true. They normally didn't fuck with family.
Mm-hmm.
So on Friday, March 24th, the Earp posse, including Wyatt, Warren, Doc Holliday, Sherman, we know who's there. They rode about 12 miles from their 12 miles west from their overnight campsite, about halfway between Contention and Drew's Station.
They did.
The federal posse rode westerly up a wash towards a prearranged meeting place at Iron Springs,
Right.
where they expected to meet Smith, who was to bring $1,000 from the Fund My Go from Tombstone,
Right.
about 20 miles to the east.
Mm-hmm.
The springs were identified by Wyatt Earp as Iron Springs, but the location was reported the next day by the Tombstone epitaph as Burley Springs.
Mm.
Damn, these motherfuckers had information the next day. Who the fuck is feeding these guys?
I know, huh?
About 8 miles south of Tombstone and 4 miles east of Charleston. Well, the spring was located in Whetstone Mountains west of Tombstone and was later renamed Mescal Springs.
Okay.
Some modern researchers believe it is actually Cottonwood Springs. Oh, what the fuck?
or...
Oh, my God.
Wait, but the actual location is uncertain.
You
Wait.
fucking think?
There's a bunch of maybes here. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows where these guys were. But
We're going to go by Wyatt.
But Wyatt did draw a picture of
did.
the actual location of
He did.
Iron Springs, and it's pretty much where
Where,
Iron Springs they said it was.
well, it wasn't Iron, it was Burley or something like that. Basically.
Iron Springs is 20 miles to the east of Tombstone.
Right, it was Iron. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
It was Iron Springs.
So I think I trust Wyatt over any of these
Right.
fucking other things.
Right.
I never met the man, but
With Wyatt and Doc Holliday in the lead, the 6 lawmen surmounted a small rise overlooking the springs and were surprised to find non-cowboys already there.
shit.
Like, damn, there's non-cowboys already there. Who is it? Well, it looks like Curly Bill, a Pony Dale.
I think it's Dial.
Is it Dial? Is it Dial?
I think it's Dial.
Johnny Barnes. We got Frank Patterson over there. Oh, look at you, Milt Hicks. He said, no, and his brother Bill.
Brother Bill and his cousin Bill.
Bill Johnson. We got Ed Lyle and Johnny Lyle.
Right.
They were camped about the springs. They were cooking a meal. They're about less than 30 feet down a slight embankment. Once again, the odds were not in the lawmen's favor.
I mean,
They're like, we're outnumbered here, boys.
right. That's a possible photo of Curly Bill Brocious.
That's nice. He looks like he's a black man.
I was just going to say that. Was he?
Looks like it.
Huh.
If
Well,
he is,
Powers Booth certainly isn't black.
Right.
That's who played him in Tombstone.
Oh, well.
Well, recognizing Earp, Curly Bill fired a shot. Why would they fucking
I
make
know.
themselves known?
Look at 30 feet above us in the embankment.
Recognizing Earp, Curly Bill fired a shotgun without warning, but Wyatt missed. Bill missed. 18 months earlier, Wyatt had protected Curly Bill against a mob ready to lynch him for killing Tombstone Marshal Fred White,
Ain't that some shit?
and then provided testimony that helped spare Curly Bill from a murder trial. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday wrote about the fight, and Fred Dodge interviewed 3 participants afterwards.
Damn.
Earp dismounted carrying a 22-inch 10-gauge stagecoach shotgun they had borrowed from Fred Dodge. The other cowboys fired at the lawman. Texas Jack, his horse was killed and fell on him, pinning his leg. Vermillion was unable to retrieve his rifle wedged in the scabbard under his fallen horse. Doc Holliday pulled Vermillion from under his horse, and they, Johnson and McMaster, shot at the cowboys as they sought cover.
Ooh, he saved his life.
So what they're saying is Curly Bill took a fucking shotgun shot at Wyatt even after he let him.
Wyatt saved his life.
Right, pretty much.
Saved his freedom.
Come on, Curly.
Wyatt Earp returned fire across his horse with his own shotgun and hit Curly Bill in the chest, almost cutting him in half. Curly Bill fell into the water by the edge of the spring and lay dead.
Damn.
The lawman's fire was so intense that, according to Johnny Barnes, the cowboys who could got away.
Right.
After killing Brocious, Earp fired his pistol and shot Johnny Barnes in the chest and Milt Hooks in the arm. Attempting to remount his horse, Wyatt had trouble getting up in the saddle because his cartridge belt had slipped down his thighs.
It's equivalent to somebody's pants falling down.
Right. He was finally able to get on his horse and retreat. Why would that be in there? Why would that be in there?
Could you imagine that? Because that's a fucking...
How would people know? Somebody seen this and wrote this down?
He probably...
Or Bill
it's
said
probably
that.
his
All right,
story.
Bill. Oh, Wyatt said that.
Could you imagine his fucking belt fucking falls down? He's
He's
like,
like, oh, shit. I can't lift my leg.
That's hilarious. They didn't show that in the movie. The Cowboys fired a number of shots at the Earp party without effect. McMaster, of course. McMaster, they're like the stormtroopers. Fucking,
right.
They just miss everything.
Right.
McMaster was grazed by a bullet that cut through the straps of his field glasses or possibly his coat.
Okay. Or possibly.
Later accounts of the gunfight varied. Of course they did. Wyatt reported that his long coat was punctured by bullets or buckshot on both sides.
Okay.
Another bullet struck his boot heel and his saddle horn was hit as well, burning the saddle hide and narrowly missing him.
Oh.
In his unpublished 1926 biography of Earp, John H. Flood wrote, "The saddle horn had been splintered. His coat hung in shreds. There were 3 holes through the legs of his trousers, 5 holes through the crown of his sombrero, and 3 through the brim."
Holy shit.
I mean, come on, that's a little
The brim.
that's a little
Right.
little exaggeration there,
Well.
but trying to make a Wyatt out to be a badass.
Could
clearly.
be true. I want to see that hat. Should still be in existence
You
today,
would
right?
think it would be somewhere. That would be
Right.
something I would save.
Right. Well, Ed Colborn wrote in a letter published in the Ford County Globe on the 23rd of May in the year of 1882 that he had visited with Wyatt and Warren Earp in Gunnison, Colorado. In the letter, he relayed Earp's story about how his overcoat was hit on both sides of his body by a charge of buckshot. I mean, it's possible. And that
I
his
believe
saddle,
that, yeah.
And that his saddle horn was shot off.
I also believe that.
The Tombstone epitaph reported on the 27th of March that Wyatt received 7 shots through his clothes, and that McMaster's clothing was shot through once, and that Texas Jack's horse had been moited, and the pommel of Wyatt's saddle had been shot off.
I'm just fucking amazed right now how many newspapers are covering this shit. This is like modern day gun violence fucking stories that the media is jumping all over.
The Tombstone epitaph, the Denver fucking...
Every fucking thing, dude. They can't wait for the next report of a fucking Wyatt fucking gunfight, dude. That's crazy. And how fast they're getting this news out.
Right.
It was a day later.
Right. Or at least 2.
Well, it was the day, March 27th. Yeah, March 27th. So it was only, either or. Pretty fucking short time.
It is.
The epitaph reported that Curly Bill had been killed, though they noted repeated denials by the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are like, he ain't been killed.
He's good.
Well, Dick Wright and Tony Cracker insisted they had seen the Cowboys near Drew's ranch below Contention, who had reported they had shot the pommel off Wyatt's horse, and he had shot at them without effect. Wyatt told Flood that Brocious' friends buried Curly Bill on the Patterson ranch near the Bobo Camary River. Well, Frank Patterson was a member of the Cowboy Party, and his ranch was close to the original McLaury ranch site. The McLaurys moved their operation to Sulphur Springs in the late 1880. Who cares about that? So we got a member of the Cowboy Party saying they did indeed bury Curly Bill. So
right. Well, it's all, we don't know, right?
It's all speculation.
All speculation. The Patterson Ranch is believed to have originally belonged to Frank Stillwell and was located on the Babacamare River, about 5 miles west of Fairbank. An unknown individual who claimed to be on his way to meet the Earp posse possibly Craker or Wright, wrote the Tombstone Nugget.
Oh, shit. Another Tombstone pay-per-view, a paper. When the fuck did the Nugget pop up?
All right.
I can't even fucking talk. When the fuck did the Nugget pop up?
Well, anyway, an unknown individual wrote to the Tombstone Nugget on the 26th of March.
Right.
That they had seen a wagon arrive and carry Curly Bill's body away.
Man, he dead.
Rancher Henry Hooker wrote that the Wells Fargo agent John Thacker himself went to the place where Curly Bill had been buried and had the body dug up. Thacker identified Curly's body and saw it was true.
So he dead. Well, meanwhile, Johnny Barnes recovered somewhat after the shooting, but later died of his wound. Wells Fargo and Company undercover agent Fred Dodge, riding with the Cowboys, wrote that Barnes had told him that he had shot Virgil Earp.
All right.
So this Fred Dodge dude is getting into gunfights with Wyatt and shit, and he's an undercover agent with Wells Fargo and shit. What the fuck? Dodge also wrote in the 1920s that Barnes had told him that Wyatt Earp had killed Brocious. He said, "You will recollect that J.B. Ayers kept the saloon in Charleston that was the headquarters for all the outlaw and rustler element.
He's like, I do.
This man Ayers, for personal reasons that would take too long to tell, supplied me with reliable information. Through him, I got in touch with several others. Johnny Barnes, whom you recollect was in the fight at Iron Springs, gave me much information, not only of that, but many other things, before he was killed. Afterwards, all they said with reference to Curly Bill was corroborated by Ike Clanton himself."
Oh, damn. Representing the danger of the Cowboys to business owners and citizens on Saturday evening, March 25th, Martin R. Peel of the Tombstone Milling and Mining Company near Charleston was murdered by two masked men. They simply walked in on the mill superintendent, Peel, and two other men who were socializing together, and they entered with rifles. They raised them up high, without saying a damn word. The first man fired a shot into Peel's chest, killing him instantly. The second man fired a shot at W.L. Austin, who ducked behind a counter and was not hit. Peel was shot through the heart at such close range that his clothing was set on fire. Ooh. No attempt on the robbery was made. No attempt at robbery was made. Sorry, guys. The others in the room with him when he was attacked ducked. No motive could be established, and assailants wearing scarves over their faces could not be identified. They were assisted by a third man who held the horses only a few 100 feet away. So they let the other guys go because they ducked. They're like, "Oh, you guys ducked.
You guys ducked. You
You're
deserve
good.
it.
You're good.
You deserve to live."
Yeah,
We only get one shot.
Right.
Man. That's all we had to come in.
You ducked and he didn't.
Yeah, right. Damn. The crime sent reverberations through Tombstone and Cochise County. Peel's father, respected Judge Bryant L. Peel. Oh, shit. You fucked with the judge's son?
Right.
He sent an open letter to the Tombstone Epitaph stating that the citizens need to take the law into their own hands.
Shit.
We want vigilantes.
He said, what'd he say?
He said, "Perhaps I am not in a condition to express a clear, deliberate opinion, but I would say to the good citizens of Cochise County, there is three things you have to do. There's a class of cutthroats among you, and you can never convict them in court.
Right.
You must combine and protect yourselves and wipe them out, or you must give up the country to them, or you will be murdered one at a time, as my son has been."
Ooh.
B.L. Peel.
On Saturday, 25th of March, the Tucson grand jury indicted Pete Spence, Frank Stilwell, Florentino Cruz, Frederick Bode, and John Doe Fries for Morgan Earp's murder. Pete Spence's trial.
How are they going to indict two dead men?
All right. Pete Spence's trial began on the 2nd of April, but ended on the 5th of April when the prosecution called Marietta Spence to repeat the testimony she had given to the coroner's inquest.
Right. They can't. I mean, first of all, a wife can't testify against a husband, so.
I don't think back then you could. The testimony she had given to the coroner's inquest, the defense objected that her testimony was hearsay. All right, that was back then.
Yeah.
And that as a spouse, she could not testify against her husband. She didn't have to be forced to. She could if she wanted. Without her testimony, the prosecution had...
No, she can't.
Oh, that's right. She had insufficient... Without her testimony, the prosecution had insufficient evidence.
Damn.
They dropped its case against Spence and Bode, and the court dismissed the charges.
Oh,
like,
dude,
you're
just going to piss off Wyatt even more. Right. What are you guys doing?
Like, what can you do?
Well, on that same day, the Earp party arrived from Iron Springs to an area outside Tombstone and met with supporters, including Charlie Smith and Dan Tipton.
Oh.
They were hoping to receive $1,000. This motherfucker's still looking for that $1,000.
Hey, you get that $1,000? You get that
$1,000? Hey, man.
Whatever you guys do,
hey, man,
you got to get $1,000.
We need that $1,000, man. We need it. We need it.
We need that $1,000 guy.
Well, he was hoping to receive that $1,000 contributed by mining owner and Earp supporter E.B. Gage from Smith, but after Smith was arrested by Behan, Tony Cracker and Whistling Dick Wright were chosen to carry it, and they had not returned yet. Gage had meanwhile learned of his mother's death and had left town for the East Coast.
All right.
Later that day, the Earp party rode north towards Henderson Ranch, near where they ate and fed their horses.
Okay.
Cochise County Deputy Sheriff Frank Hereford was at the ranch but didn't show himself in fear of his safety.
Of course.
Although the Earp party had only the greatest respect for him.
Yeah, but you know how people were.
But what a fucking sheriff that is.
All right, I'm scared. 25th of March, Sheriff Behan formed a posse that included known criminals, including Johnny Ringo, Phil Clanton, and Johnny Barnes. The 25-man posse left Tombstone and searched east of town for the Earp
Didn't
posse.
anybody question Behan
No, they didn't care.
for fucking employing known criminals that have like accused of murder and shit?
Right.
Nobody cared that he was just
Right.
the sheriff rounding up a posse of fucking murderers.
Right. Well, anyway, the 25-man posse left Tombstone and searched east of town for their posse for a while before turning back for that night. They're like, well, we couldn't find them. Let's go back home. Around 6:30 a.m. the very next day, Behan led a 15-man posse from Tombstone headed for the Dragoon Mountains, and they returned that very night. The Earp posse camped Sunday night, March 26th, a mile north of Henderson Ranch, and left at 7 a.m. the next day for the Sierra Bonita Ranch of Henry C. Hooker, a wealthy and prominent rancher. So they must have known Henry C. Hooker.
I'm assuming.
Or if they didn't, they're like, we're just going to take this motherfucker over.
Well, on April 5th, the Tombstone Epitaph, they printed a letter from an unknown member of the Earp party that recited some of the group's actions after leaving Tombstone and revealed they were still in the area.
What?
The writer said the Wyatt posse left Tombstone on the evening of March 25th and camped 6 miles north. The next day, they headed for Dragoon Summit Station, where they awaited the train and a messenger. They stopped the eastbound train at 1 p.m. and searched the carriages, but found nothing. It is not known what they were hoping to find. So they're kind of like robbing the train, too, or what?
I don't know. It's weird. When they arrived at Hooker's ranch, he congratulated Earp on killing Curly Bill Brocious. He fed the men and their mounts. When Behan's posse was spotted in the distance, Hooker suggested Wyatt make his stand right here. But Wyatt moved into the hills about 3 miles distant near Riley Hill. Wait. He's like, no, I'm going to go about 3 miles that way.
They spotted Behan's guys in the woods.
Somewhere.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Wyatt was still able to travel 3 miles fucking away.
Right. When Sheriff Behan and his posse arrived at the Sierra Bonita Ranch on Tuesday morning, March 28th at 7 a.m., Hooker refused to provide Behan any information and damned the officers in the law that they represented. Damn you!
Well, upon payment, he provided Behan's posse and horses with food and water, but would not supply them with fresh horses.
Okay.
Wouldn't supply them, feed your horses, but they ain't going to be fresh.
Nope.
Well, Behan and Under Sheriff Woods sought the assistance of Indian scouts under the command of Colonel Biddle at Fort Grant, but was unsuccessful, even upon offering a $500 reward for assistance.
Yeah, they're like, no.
Dude's like, yeah, I'm a fucking army. What the fuck I need that for?
Right.
They rejoined the remainder of the posse who had lost the Earp's posse trail and went to Eureka Springs. Former Pima County Sheriff Bob Paul, who had been in Tombstone at the time and volunteered to ride with the Behan posse, wrote a letter to the Tucson Citizen on March 3rd, 1898, in response to an earlier story he said was full of errors.
Full of errors.
He said the Earp posse had told Hooker to tell Behan him and his posse where they were camped at. Hooker told Behan where the Earps were camped, but the posse left in the opposite direction. The Nugget reported that the Behan posse did not return until Friday. So they're saying he told Behan where they were camped, but Behan was like, I don't think we're going to go and confront them at this time. Right. So maybe he didn't really want to.
Right, I don't think he wanted to.
He didn't really want to engage with these fucking guys. He just wanted to make it seem like he was actually going to do something.
Like he tried. Like, we tried.
Right.
Early that same morning, Dan Tipton arrived in Wilcox on the morning train. He rented a horse, and he started north, presumably towards the Earp's location and carrying the $1,000. There's that $1,000. If you follow that $1,000, you find Wyatt.
Right. Follow the money. That's what they always say.
That he got from E.B. Gage for the posse. The Nugget reported that Tipton...
Look at the Nugget and the Epitaph going back and forth on their fucking reporting. We got a little in-town Deadwood paper rivalry.
Right. The Nugget reported that Tipton left on the 5 o'clock stage to catch up with the party near Hooker's Ranch. The Earp posse also received money from Lewis Cooley, a stage driver and an employee of Wells Fargo, who gave funds from the express company.
So he stole from his company to give to this group of vigilantes?
You guys take this. You need it more than I do.
On the 15th of April, Cooley traveled to Contention and Benson on his business for Wells Fargo, where he met General Superintendent J.J. Valentine. When he arrived in Wilcox to complete his business, Behan was there to arrest him.
Fuck you, Behan. Well, Behan's warrant accused Cooley of aiding and abetting the Earps, the Tombstone Epitaph. They were like, we got this one, Nugget. Labeled the charges as frivolous and said a lawsuit would be filed against Behan.
Oh.
Judge Wells Spicer dismissed the charges, while the location of the federal posse led
So
by...
I'm guessing the Nugget was against the Earps, and the Epitaph is loving the Earps.
I don't know. The Nugget kind of hasn't taken sides so far. I think they're
Right.
just reporting what they're hearing.
Right.
But clearly, I think this is even the first time we've seen the Epitaph take sides.
Doing the Fox News. And
Right.
frivolous.
While the location of the federal posse led by Wyatt was well known to most members of the public, Bayhan's posse never caught up with him because he didn't fucking want
They
to.
didn't. Well, it could have easily. They were
Right.
within like 10 miles
The whole fucking time, you see, there's only a couple fires in the sky in the fucking open wilderness that, for their vain effort to find and arrest Wyatt Earp.
Hey, behind. Is that them? Yeah, that's them.
That's them.
What do we do? Nothing.
Sit here.
It's too dangerous.
Well, for their part, their efforts to find and arrest Wyatt and the other men charged in Stillwell's murder, Bayhan's 25-man posse was paid $5 per day plus $3 per day for horse care.
Damn.
That's $8 a day.
All right, you didn't have to give the horse the $3.
For the 10 days they were on trail. So that's fucking $80 they were paid. That's a lot of money.
Fuck yeah.
The total bill to the county taxpayers was $2,070.70.
Damn.
We're looking at a picture of Wyatt Earp in Dodge City. 15 months after the Vendetta Ride. I don't know why that would be there, but
Yeah, why would that be there?
look at him. What a nice little chappy fellow.
Yeah.
He looks like Bill Paxton,
A little bit.
doesn't he?
Kind of.
Looks like Bill Paxton.
A little bit.
Bill Paxton could totally play fucking Wyatt Earp.
Maybe.
Okay.
3rd of April. Tombstone Epitaph reported
Shit. Nugget, you got to catch
that
up.
the Earp posse had been eating breakfast in the town on March 27th and had been spotted 6 days later on the 20th.
Wait. They ate breakfast in Tombstone? In town on March 27th.
On March 27th, and then they've been spotted 6 days later on the 2nd of April, 20 miles north of Hooker's Ranch. And that the Albuquerque Journal and San Francisco Daily Report both reported on the March 28th that the Earp party had already passed through Albuquerque. It also noted that Virgil Earp and his wife were in Los Angeles that week. The newspaper commented.
Look at Virgil and his wife fucking
Right.
taking up Los Angeles and
Right,
shit.
we're
dude.
good over here. The newspaper commented, "This is the wisest course they could pursue. Their lives were not safe for a moment in Tombstone, even if they gave themselves up for the authorities, for the sheriff is inimical to them. And they felt that in the hands of this sheriff, they would be entirely at the mercy of the cowboys." Quote, end quote.
So here's Wyatt and Doc and all them living this rough and tumble fucking
Right.
life, camping, and we got fucking Virgil
Virgil.
and his wife skipping down fucking
Living it
Rodeo
up.
Drive and shit
Right.
in Hollywood.
Fucking walking the beach,
Right.
toes in the sand.
Well, on April 5th, a member of the Earp party told the Tombstone Epitaph that they were still in the Arizona territory, though. So clearly these newspapers got it wrong,
Right.
unless they rode from Albuquerque to Tombstone in I don't know, that's kind of impossible. This anonymous member of the party reported that from Hooker's Ranch, they rode 5 miles north to Eureka Springs, where they camped for the night. They
Okay.
spotted the Bayhan posse from that location, but avoided drawing their attention.
Okay.
They stayed near Cottonwood the next night, possibly a mill site near the southwest end of the Whetstone Mountains, from which they picked up the trail of fugitive Frank Jackson. The Tombstone Epitaph reported that he was wanted on a $2,500. There's your fucking 1,000 plus more, Earp.
Yeah.
Well, Earp posse arrested Jackson on April 4th and turned him over to Detective Jack Duncan. They got their fucking $2,500 after all.
And like Jack Duncan didn't know people were looking for the Earps.
He probably didn't give a fuck.
All right. He's like, "Here's your money, boy. I didn't see you."
Right.
April 12th.
He's like, I've been looking for this guy for a long fucking time,
Right.
man.
April 12th, 1882.
How do they, wait, they're in the Whetstone Mountains.
Okay.
What do they got? They just go towns, and he's like, Wyatt's probably like, collect bounty posters. If we see any of these motherfuckers,
bet.
we're going to fucking take them down.
I bet that's true. Well, April 12th, 1882, the Weekly Nugget reported that Wyatt and his fellow fugitives were camped in a canyon near the Sierra Bonita Ranch. Wyatt was quoted as publicly challenging Cochise County Sheriff Behan to come find him there. He's like, "Come find me. I'm here." Sometime from April 10th to the 14th of April, the group headed east out of Arizona.
Okay.
They stopped at Camp Grant before they left Arizona territory.
Isn't that by
Camp Grant?
Camp Grant?
I don't know. Before they left the Arizona territory, and Wyatt signed
that's
some
no.
property over to his sister there.
Okay.
Colonel James Biddle told the Earps that warrants had been issued for their arrest, and they would have to hold them. He's like, "I'm not to hold you guys, you're wanted." He invited them in for a meal. When they finished the meal, they found fresh horses ready for them to continue their ride east.
Damn. So this guy's like, hey, I'm going to have to hold you just for dinner.
Just for dinner
and fresh horses.
I got you dinner. And Wyatt's like, "Oh."
Oh, and then they're like, He's like goes to poke his eyes, and the guy's like,
boop.
but well, that's kind of sad though.
Right.
That they don't take the same horses. I mean, that horse has got to be with you. You bond
Right.
through
Well,
that ride.
they
They're
didn't
just taking different horses off.
They had to, man. They're getting out.
Obviously, they're going a long way. But
Right.
they rode east again the next day, and on April 15th, tax day, 1882, stopped in Silver City, New Mexico territory. They spent one night in the home of a friend. And the next day, how the fuck? This motherfucker's got friends everywhere.
No, everybody.
I got friends in all territories.
From Deming to
Silver
Albuquerque.
City. Well, the next day, they sold their horses that weren't even theirs. Well, I guess they cashed their other horses in, so.
Right.
And their saddles before taking a stage to Deming. From there, they took the train to Albuquerque, where they remained for 2 weeks. To avoid drawing undue attention from their enemies, the Earps visited the offices of the two newspapers and persuaded them to not write any stories about their presence.
Right.
Persuaded, more like, you write any fucking stories that were here, we're going to put a bullet in your head.
Right, we'll murder you, you dumb son of a bitch. Wyatt and Holliday, who had been fast friends since Holliday saved Earp's life in Dodge City during 1878, had a serious disagreement and parted ways in Albuquerque.
Yeah,
Doc's like,
Doc,
you know what?
You had to call him that, didn't you?
Yeah, but Wyatt was a little out of control at this point. And
I don't
Doc's
think
like,
he was.
Yeah, he was.
I don't think he was.
And Doc's like, you know
He
what?
just wanted some pussy.
Doc's like, I can't do this. I'm dying. You're a dick. I'm out. According to a letter written by former New Mexican Territory Governor Miguel Otero, Wyatt and Holliday were eating at the Retreat restaurant in Albuquerque owned by Fat Charlie. When Doc said something about Wyatt Earp becoming a damn Jew boy, Earp became angry and he left. Henry Jaffa told me later that Earp's woman was a Jew.
Yes. She's
Earp-
a Jewess.
Earp did mezuzah when entering the house, whatever that is.
It's like taking off his shoes
Right.
and like doing some fucking prayer type stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Wyatt was staying. Well, here we go. Wyatt was staying with the prominent businessman Henry N. Jaffa, who was also president of the New Albuquerque's Board of Trade. Jaffa was also Jewish, and based on the letter, Earp had, while staying in Jaffa's home, honored Jewish tradition by performing the mezuzah upon entering his home. According to Otero's letter, Jaffa told him that Earp's woman was a Jewess. Earp's anger at Holliday's religious slur may indicate the relationship between Josephine Marcus and Wyatt Earp was more serious at the time than is commonly known. He's like, I love this woman.
Right. He's gonna,
I love this
if
woman.
I didn't know you, Doc, you'd be dead.
Right, pretty much, right?
Well, the group split up. They were leaving the uncertain justice of the American frontier for more defined justice of the federal and state court system. On about the 29th of April in 1882, Wyatt Earp and his brother Warren, McMaster, Johnson, and Vermillion took the train to Trinidad and then Gunnison, Colorado, where they set up camp on the outskirts of town.
Okay.
They rarely went into town at first, except for like supplies and stuff.
Eventually, Wyatt's like, I need to
Right.
fucking play some games.
Yeah, and eventually I was like, I gotta do it. And they got far over there, and they're like, you know what they do? And he's like, let's go. Let's go to that local saloon. Doc Holliday and Dan Tipton headed
He
to
took over the Pharaoh game, so he came
Oh, he
in
took
there.
over. He went back
came
in
in there, and he's like, I'm fucking being your
He's like,
dealer now, motherfucker.
where's the Pharaoh table? Over there. All right, that's mine.
That's mine now.
All right. Well, Doc Holliday and Dad Tipton.
Dad Tipton.
Dad Tipton. Doc Holliday and Dan Tipton, they headed to Pueblo and then to Denver. The split didn't last very long, though. Less than 2 weeks
Yes,
later,
he was.
Holliday was arrested on the Arizona warrant for killing Frank Stillwell.
How are they going to arrest him on an Arizona warrant in
Right.
fucking Colorado?
Right.
I don't think either of them are
No.
they're still territories at this point,
All right.
unless it was a federal warrant.
Could have been federal.
Well, Wyatt intervened on Holliday's behalf and persuaded Bat Masterson to fabricate bunco charges against Holliday.
Okay.
So he's like, hey, Bat, tell him that he's
Drunken.
actually wanted from you, and you are
Right.
the one that has to take him.
Right.
Well, Masterson then persuaded Colorado Governor Pitkin to refuse to honor Arizona's extradition request. Afterwards, Holliday and Wyatt met again in June 1882 in Gunnison. And then again, lastly, Holliday was able to see his old friend Wyatt in the late winter of 1886, where they met in the lobby of the Windsor Hotel. Sad. Sadie Marcus described the skeletal Holliday as having a continuous cough and standing on unsteady legs, quote unquote.
Well, in Tombstone, rumors flew about the activities.
The rumors flew.
Right. You guys hear about the Earps? No, what happened to the Earps? Well, the Tombstone
Nugget's like, don't worry.
got that
Read
shit.
our next issue.
We got that shit. Tombstone Nugget also printed a story on the 13th of May in 1892, reporting that a rumor that Wyatt had been killed was probably true.
Okay.
They cited that a citizen had seen Wyatt at Henry Hooker's Sierra Bonita Ranch in Arizona during the previous week, and that Wyatt had been killed there, presumably by parties who had been following him since he left this very place. On the same day, the L.A. Herald and Albuquerque Evening Review ran the Tombstone Nugget story.
Oh, shit. Fake news spreading even in the Wild West
Earp
days,
is dead.
Huh?
#RIP
Wyatt Earp dead. Right. Wyatt Earp first wrote down the story about the shootout at Iron Springs more than 11 years after the incident. Wyatt told varied accounts of the shootout at the Springs a number of times during his life. Details varied between the different accounts, like getting his saddle pommel shot off, pulling his loose cartridge belt, exactly when he helped Texas Jack from under his horse, the distance at which they initially encountered the cowboys, and how far Earp dismounted from Curly Bill. Before his death in 1887, Doc Holliday left his account of the gunfight, in which he credited Wyatt as the individual responsible for shooting Curly Bill and another cowboy.
Okay, so we got Doc there doing that. Well, while Behan sought to arrest the Earps, his reputation among some citizens was very, very negative. On the 27th of May, 1882, a strong Democrat was quoted in a letter in the Yuma, Arizona's The Arizona Sentinel, describing the events following the murder of noted desperado Frank Stillwell. Readers may want to know how these so-called Republican outlaws are
Here we go, even then, huh?
Are regarded by decent, law-abiding people in Tombstone, regardless of politics.
So there were actually Behan's a Republican in this situation right here. I told you the parties were different, man.
No, they weren't different. The Republican outlaws.
Republican outlaw. They're talking about Behan. A strong Democrat is talking about Behan.
Oh, the Republican outlaws are Earps.
No.
That's why they say the so-called Republican outlaws are regarded by decent, law-abiding people in Tombstone, regardless of politics. And then Democrats are fucking Behan to them, for sure. The writer was of the opinion that Sheriff Behan wanted the requisition of the governor of Fremont, with the object was to have them assassinated. Neither the sheriff nor any of his deputies have ever turned a hand to find the murderers of Morgan Earp. That's what he's saying. Nobody ever wanted to find Morgan Earp. They're saying of Behan. You guys didn't want to find him. Find the murderer of Morgan. There's no hope for any honest man to get justice here.
That's because they were riding amongst them.
Right. As long as Behan is in office.
Yeah.
That's what Governor Fremont is saying.
That's what the strong Democrat is saying.
All right. Either way. 29th May, 1882, Colorado Governor Pitkin finally refused to honor Arizona's extradition request, allowing Earp and the others to leave the very state that they were in.
All right. Well, Wyatt and his posse were unable to apprehend or kill the remaining suspects. Hank Swillen, he was last known when he was questioned in August 1878 about robbing the U.S. mail. Frederick Bode, he was last listed in the 1880 U.S. Census in Charleston, Pima County.
Okay.
Johnny Ringo, he was found dead on July 14th, 1882 in West Turkey Creek Valley near Chiricahua Peak with a bullet hole in his right temple. The coroner's jury ruled his death a suicide. But I'm almost positive we will have that story in part 4.
Okay.
Because we still have to go through Wyatt meeting up with Doc before he dies and all that stuff. Ike Clanton was wanted for a cattle rustling when he resisted arrest on June 1st, 1887. He attempted to draw his rifle on Detective Jonas V. Brighton, who shot Clanton through the heart.
Oh.
Finally, Ike gets his fucking due, you fucking cock.
Did.
Well, Phineas Clanton was convicted of grand larceny for cattle. Look at all these guys that were in Sheriff Behan's posse.
All of them.
And they're all getting fucking convicted for crimes and shit. Well, Clanton's convicted of grand larceny for cattle rustling in 1887 and served 17 months of a 10-year jail sentence in the Yuma Territorial Prison. He died in 1906. Oh, okay, that's why. No. Pete Spence was convicted of manslaughter in 1883 and served 18 months of a 5-year sentence in the Yuma Territorial Prison. He married his friend Phineas Clanton's widow in 1910 and died in 1914. So, clearly something in Yuma Territorial Prison has a soft spot for these Clanton and Spence guys.
Hey, that works.
I guess.
20th of March, 2005, the 122nd anniversary of the killing of Frank Stillwell. A life-size statue of Holliday and Earp by the sculptor Dan Bates was dedicated by the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum at the restored Historic Railroad Depot in Tucson, Arizona, at the approximate site of the shooting on the train platform. Wyatt Earp later claimed that Doc and I were the only ones in Tucson at the time Frank Stillwell was killed. quote, end quote.
But we know that's not true, so Wyatt's just a fucking liar.
He is a liar.
Long after the gunfight, Johnny Behan continued to spread rumors about the Earps. On December 7th, 1897, he was quoted in his story in the Washington Post. Oh, the Washington Post.
Oh, jeez.
Reprinted by the San Francisco Call, describing the Earps' law-breaking behavior in Tombstone. After referring to the highly controversial Fitzsimmons-Sharkey fight, for which Wyatt Earp was referee, the article quoted Behan. The Clanton brothers and the McLauries were a tough lot of rustlers who were the main perpetrators of the rascally rife in that region.
Rascally.
Between them and the Earps rose a bitter feud over the division of the proceeds of the looting. The Earp boys believed they had failed to get a fair divide of the booty and swore vengeance.
Right.
They caught their former allies in Tombstone unarmed and shot 3 of them dead,
Ooh.
while their hands were uplifted. Behan
Hands up, don't shoot!
Behan went on to say, they were hauled up before a justice of the peace. Warrants were issued for their arrest, and a summoning posse. I went out to bring the Earps in.
Uh-oh.
They were chased entirely out of the country. They weren't, and Tombstone knew no more. I mean,
shit.
wow, look at Behan.
Wyatt's action in taking justice into his own hands became one of the most well-known examples of American frontier justice in American history. Wyatt Earp became the archetypal image of a real-life anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
In 1927, Earp defended his decisions before the gunfight at the OK Corral, and afterward to Stuart Lake, author of the 1931 largely fictionalized biography, Wyatt Earp, Frontier Marshal. For my handling of the situation at Tombstone, I have no regrets. Were it to be done over again, I would do exactly as I did at that time.
Of course you would.
If the outlaws and their friends and allies imagined that they could intimidate or exterminate the Earps by a process of murder, and then hide behind alibis and the technicalities of the law, they simply missed their guess. I want to call your particular attention again to one fact, which writers of Tombstone incidents in history apparently have overlooked. With the deaths of McLauries and the Clantons, the Stilwell, Florentino Cruz, Curly Bill, and the rest, organized, politically protected crime and depredations in Cochise County ceased.
Sure did. Damn, what a good episode.
Oh.
Wow, yeah. So that's the Earp Vendetta Ride, and we're not even done. There's more to be killed in part 4, but that's look at these guys. But I guess the whole fucking common theme of this episode is Behan was on their fucking trail the whole time, was spotted numerous times, and spotted them numerous times.
Suppose they fired a couple rounds at each other. Pew, pew, pew.
Well, not even Behan, though.
All right. Oh, yeah, that was the other guy.
But fucking Behan spotted them. They spotted Behan. But Behan never fucking went to arrest him because clearly he was scared.
Right.
And then has the nerve 10, 20, 15 years later to go and say that the Earps wanted booty and wanted their fair share of shit. And we're, come on now. I mean, fucking Behan, what a bitch.
Right. Right.
What a good episode, though. That's part 3. Part 4, we're going to see, again, the little bit of kind of like the wrap-up of Johnny Ringo and that whole situation. Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp's friendship is going to wrap up. Wyatt's going to go into Hollywood and make a couple movies and be a, what are they called? An overseer of westerns and shit like that. He's that type of guy. So then he's going to live a quiet life in L.A. before he passes away. But we got way more than that because
way more.
Looking at that, it's a long episode of. I mean, this dude did. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just crazy.
There's too much stuff.
That's right.
There's too much stuff. What we just told you is what you've ever seen in movies. There's still much more.
What we just told you haven't seen in movies. That's the thing. A lot of the stuff you didn't see in Tombstone, you might have seen in Wyatt Earp. I doubt it though.
It was in Wyatt Earp.
But yeah, that's part 3, the Earp Vendetta Ride. Like I said, part 4 is going to be all about his later years and obviously his death and his impact on Western, Wild West, and outlaws and famous people out there in general.
The filmography world.
So, yeah, we'll be back Friday for that one, and then we'll wrap up Outlaws and Gunslingers Wild West edition with Gambling in the Wild West, to which we immediately turn over to Prohibition, which obviously includes gambling and
smuggling of booze,
bootlegging, and all that good stuff. So we'll see you Friday and then Tuesday again for our first our gambling episode, and then we'll continue on our every Tuesday rotation after that. So, yeah, go check out Mouthy Michiganders, where we just restarted This Week in Sports History. All your facts, records.
Got everything you need to know.
Great moments, everything you need to know in the history of sports week by week. And our Deadwood review, which by now will be in episode 7, which is Seth Bullock returns to Deadwood after hunting down Wild Bill's murderer. So
he's probably gonna be even more pissed off than he was before because he got beat up by an Indian.
Yeah, well, we're actually recording episode 6 review right after this, after we're done with this. So, but that's already out. Next one will be episode 7, where he returns to town.
Things are getting good.
It is getting good. Shit's happening, and yeah, we'll see you over there on the Mouthy Michiganders. For now, we'll be back next Friday. Well, this Friday with part 4, Wyatt Earp's later life. We are the Mouthy Michiganders with
Bang Dang.